In the 1990s, Pauly Shore was known for playing spaced-out stoners in movies like Biodome and Encino Man. Then the curly-haired funnyman disappeared, or did he? From taking over his mom's club to making mockumentaries, here's what the Weasel has been up to lately. In the mid-2010s, Pauly Shore joined the digital media explosion and embraced a contemporary, do-it-yourself aesthetic. In 2014, he launched his official website along with the podcast Pauly Shore's Interested. In the podcast, Shore set out to have probing conversations with other comedians and celebrities. He recorded 19 episodes of Pauly Shore's Interested in 2014 and 2015 before abandoning the interview-focused show in favor of a new podcast with a more straightforward format called The Pauly Shore Podcast Show. The comedian recorded and released 27 episodes of The Pauly Shore Podcast Show, structured like a radio variety show with music, commentary on the news, and guests. The Pauly Shore Podcast Show wrapped up its run in the fall of 2015. In 2023, Shore returned to self-distributed content with a 10-episode YouTube series called Hooray for Pollywood, a combination of scripted comedy and celebrity collaboration. In the mid-2000s, Pauly Shore spent a lot of his time in law offices fighting a lawsuit filed by a neighbor. At the time, Shore lived on a hillside in the Hollywood Hills, directly above Wes Craven, director of A Nightmare on Elm Street. In June 2007, Craven and his attorney filed a lawsuit against Shore in Los Angeles Superior Court. In the suit, Craven complained that Shore had made so many improvements to his property that it damaged the slope in between the homes and created substantial damage to the director's property. As part of the legal proceedings, Shore had his land inspected, which prompted him to file a countersuit against Craven. The Biodome actor alleged that the destruction of the slope was actually Craven's fault and that it had hurt Shore's property. At the request of Craven's lawyer, the judge dismissed the countersuit. The matter entered mediation in August 2008 and was settled days before a courtroom hearing. In the end, Shore was liable to cover some of the expense of fixing the hill. With a long career as a touring comedian and fringe celebrity, Pauly Shore is arguably more famous in the 21st century for being himself than he is for any of his movie roles.
Oh, buddy.
That said, Shore made 2 fake documentaries in which he played a heightened version of himself. In both films, Shore mocked both himself and Hollywood culture. In 2003, Shore co-wrote and co-directed the jaded showbiz satire Pauly Shore is Dead. The mockumentary centered on Shore's desperate attempt to revive his stagnating career by staging his own death.
I guess it's true what they say when you die. You're a lot more loved.
The film secured a very limited theatrical release in September 2004, playing in one theater and earning $11,000. 5 years later, Shore wrote, directed, and starred in Adopted. The film critiqued the era's trend of celebrities adopting children from the developing world as a form of self-publicity. Once again, Shore played a version of himself in the film as an attention-seeking new parent of 2 children from Africa. Critics loathed Adopted, and it didn't enjoy a significant theatrical release. After making 2 fake documentaries, Pauly Shore took the skills he learned on Adoption and Pauly Shore is Dead and used them to make an actual documentary, 2014's Pauly Shore Stands Alone. The decidedly not funny documentary depicts Shore's work as a touring comedian, playing small venues in the Midwest in the winter. The film additionally shows Shore transitioning his seriously ill mother out of her home and sharing some of her last years with her before her death in 2018. Shore told Deadline, "The tour was booked, and I was going through a peculiar time. I was happy on the road as opposed to being home, which is difficult because of my mom's illness. I just hired a crew and shot it. The film was my way to express myself more comfortably." Showtime bought the rights to Pauly Shore Stands Alone and first broadcast the documentary in December 2014. Pauly Shore hit his career stride in the 1990s, taking his spaced-out stoner character to the big screen in films like Jury Duty, Son-in-Law, and Encino Man.
Shoot fly, don't bother me.
Shore also starred in 1996's Biodome, in which he played Bud McIntosh, one of 2 slackers who wind up inside a biological experiment in the desert. Biodome was a massive commercial and critical flop, earning $13 million and a 4% score on Rotten Tomatoes. It was one of the worst box office performers of Shore's 90s films, and one of his most critically savaged, too. Nevertheless, the stars of the film seemed committed to making a sequel happen. The film's co-star Stephen Baldwin told Variety in 2017, "Pauly and I are ready, and I have the money now with my new company. Let Biodome 2 live." In August 2021, Shore addressed the idea on X, formerly known as Twitter.
I would definitely do the sequels to all my movies. I loved all my movies.
However, Shore also pointed out that while both he and Baldwin are enthusiastic about a potential Biodome 2, the decision for a sequel isn't up to the actors, but rather the rights holders. He then urged his followers to contact the studios to demonstrate interest in a reboot. Two comedians established the Comedy Store in Los Angeles in 1972, Rudy DeLuca and Sammy Shore, Pauly's dad. In 1974, Sammy Shore divorced Pauly's mother, Mitzi, and transferred his ownership stake in the club to her to reduce his alimony payments. Under Mitzi's management, the Comedy Store became one of the country's premier stand-up rooms, providing a professional home to rising stars such as David Letterman and Richard Pryor. As Mitzi got older and experienced advanced symptoms of a neurological disorder, Pauly took on more responsibilities at the venue. He allowed cameras to track his progress for the 2005 TBS reality show, Minding the Store. As Mitzi's health continued to decline, Pauly handled the talent management end of the business, while his brother Peter managed the club's finances. In 2009, Pauly requested financial records and tax returns from Peter, who responded by hiring an attorney and eliminating his brother from the Comedy Store's board of directors. Pauly filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles, asking a court to reinstate him on the board and order Peter to hand over the requested financial information. According to the Los Angeles Times, the brothers eventually settled out of court. In 2022, Shore voiced the title role in the animated film Pinocchio, A True Story, which was produced in Russia. The film wasn't a box office hit or streaming success. However, it did go viral in early 2022 because social media users couldn't get enough of the trailer. Many thought the clip was poorly produced and that Shore was woefully miscast, so they started sharing the trailer with their friends. Even Shore wondered if he was the best choice to play a marionette who magically turns into a teenager. He told Rolling Stone, "I made my manager read the email 2 or 3 times, and he was like, 'No, they want you.'" And so, it was the instantly recognizable and very grown-up voice of Shore all over the trailer for the film. Shore went on to add, "I go into it with my heart and my soul and trying to have a good time. I didn't know it was going to go viral." When ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel hosted the 2023 Academy Awards, he pointed out a piece of arcane Oscars trivia during the ceremony. That night, Ke Huy Quan and Brendan Fraser were both nominated for awards. More than 30 years earlier, however, both actors had co-starred in the critically derided comedy Encino Man, as did Pauly Shore.
Figure we's a little juice.
Referring to the nominated actors, Kimmel said on the show, "What an incredible night this must be for the two of you, and what a very difficult night for Pauly Shore." Shore didn't think the joke was very funny, and didn't understand why he was being mocked. He told Page 6, "We love to hate people when they're on top. People wanted to smash me down, and they did. I was always nice to everyone, always cool. I put my heart into all my films. Human beings have feelings. I do truly miss acting, and I miss being on set." Pauly Shore didn't adhere to a traditional setup punchline style of stand-up comedy. His very first performance ended with some light breakdancing moves. Shore's mother even told her son to stick with the dancing. That became half of the title of the younger Shore's one-man show, Stick with the Dancing, Stories from My Childhood. While speaking to Page 6 in 2023 about his show, Shore said, "My whole life I've had a microphone in my hand. I was pretty much born on the steps of the Comedy Store." The show consists of Shore alone on stage recalling personal and entertainment industry memories from the 70s and 80s, as well as his first taste of fame in the 90s. To celebrate the impending 50th anniversary of the Comedy Store's 1972 opening, Shore took Stick with the Dancing on tour in 2020, but had to stop because of pandemic-related shutdowns on live entertainment venues. He picked up where he left off in 2022, staging a rewritten version of his show around Los Angeles before embarking on a national tour throughout 2023. A mop of curly hair, an elongated face, and an entertaining spirit. Those are the qualities shared by fitness guru Richard Simmons and Pauly Shore. There's such a striking resemblance between the two cultural figures that it inspired Shore to launch a web series. In the series, Shore combined his 90s-era persona, known as the Weasel, with a tribute to Simmons' workout videos.
I'm a weasel.
He called it Sweatin' with the Wheeze. As a result, many people on social media urged Shore to portray Simmons in a possible life story film, so he tried to get the movie made. Shore wrote on Facebook in 2023, I've noticed all the reactions to me playing Richard Simmons in a new biopic, so I reached out to him. I heard he's living deep in Big Bear. We've been playing phone tag. I'm trying to make it happen for you guys. Be optimistic." A few days later, Shore reported that Simmons had declined the offer, citing a desire to protect his privacy. In a follow-up post addressed to Simmons, Shore wrote, "You can always reach out to me if you change your mind. I'm just a phone call away." It's been more than 25 years since Pauly Shore was the top-billed star of a Hollywood studio comedy, but since the 1990s, the independent film scene has exploded, with numerous writers and directors of smaller films needing actors to fill their casts. Accordingly, Shore has starred in or taken on supporting roles in many indie movies over the course of the last 2 decades. In the 2007 dark comedy, The Junior Defenders, Shore was one of the co-stars in a film about a disgruntled fan who kidnaps the stars of his favorite 1970s superhero TV series. Shore followed that by portraying a dad in the family fantasy Opposite Day, and appearing in the stoner comedy Stonerville. In 2012, Shore starred opposite country music star Tanya Tucker in the CMT original Whiskey Business. He played a performative bartender on the run from the mafia who hides out in a southern small town and develops a revolutionary moonshine. Furthermore, Shore was the main draw in the straight-to-streaming 2020 comedy Guest House. He played a middle-aged squatter living in a young couple's outbuilding in the film. In 2021, Shore also played himself in the end-of-the-world movie How It Ends.